Alright, buckle up because we're about to take a deep dive into the galaxy-sized mess that is Amandla Stenberg's recent claims about the Acolyte. If you're not familiar with the drama, let me catch you up. The Acolyte, Disney's latest attempt to milk the Star Wars franchise, got axed after just one season. And instead of acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, the show wasn't up to snuff, Stenberg's out here blaming vitriolic Star Wars fans for its cancellation. Yes, you heard that right. According to her, it's the fans who are the problem, not the show's complete lack of quality. Now, let's be real for a second. We've all seen this movie before. A big budget show flops, and instead of the creators or the stars owning up to its shortcomings, they point the finger at the audience. It's like they're allergic to taking any responsibility. But let's get one thing straight: the Acolyte didn't get cancelled because of some mythical army of hyper-conservative bigots hiding in the shadows of the Star Wars fandom. It got cancelled because it was a poorly executed, overhyped, and underwhelming disaster. First off, Amandla says the cancellation wasn't a huge shock. Well, no duh. Anyone with a basic understanding of how the entertainment industry works could see this coming from a parsec away. When you pour $180 million into a show and it gets the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score in Star Wars history, you're not exactly setting yourself up for a renewal. But instead of facing the music, she's doubling down on this narrative that the fans are somehow to blame. I mean, come on, that's about as believable as Jar Jar Binks being a Sith Lord. And let's talk about those so-called vitriolic fans. Sure, the internet can be a rough place, especially for people in the public eye, but to paint the entire Star Wars fandom with this broad brush of hate and bigotry, that's not just lazy, it's insulting. The truth is, most Star Wars fans are passionate, dedicated, and yes, sometimes brutally honest, but they're not out to sabotage a show just because it doesn't fit some narrow worldview. They criticize because they care. And when a show is as bad as The Acolyte was, they're going to call it out. That's not vitriol, that's accountability. What really gets me is how Amandla and others in her camp seem to think that any negative feedback is automatically rooted in prejudice. Look, I'm all for diversity and new voices in Star Wars. Andor proved that you can have a diverse cast and tell a compelling, original story that resonates with fans and critics alike. But The Acolyte, it was a textbook example of how not to do it. The writing was weak, the characters were flat, and the plot was about as engaging as a tax audit. And let's not forget those bizarre witch chants that made even the most die-hard fans cringe. If you want to talk about what really killed this show, start there. And here's the thing, this isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a much larger problem with how Disney has been handling Star Wars ever since they took over Lucasfilm. They keep throwing insane amounts of money at these projects, but without any real direction or coherent vision. It's like they're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. And when it doesn't, they blame the fans. It's the same story we've seen play out with the sequel trilogy, The Book of Boba Fett, and now The Acolyte. Instead of acknowledging their mistakes and learning from them, they just keep doubling down on bad decisions. And let's not gloss over this. Amandla's claim that the show was hit by a rampage of vitriol before it even aired because of the concept alone. That's just absurd. The Star Wars community has welcomed countless new ideas and concepts over the years, from the introduction of Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian to the complex, gritty storytelling of Andor. Fans are hungry for fresh takes on the galaxy far, far away. They just want those takes to be good. The problem with The Acolyte wasn't the concept, it was the execution. You can have the most interesting premise in the world, but if the end product is a mess, people are going to notice. Let's also address her point about living in the bubble of her own reality. I appreciate the honesty there, because it's pretty clear that bubble needs a serious reality check. Maybe, just maybe, instead of dismissing all the criticism as the work of trolls, Amandla and the rest of the team should have taken a step back and asked themselves why the feedback was so negative. Because when both fans and critics are telling you that something's wrong, maybe it's not the audience that's the problem. At the end of the day, Star Wars fans want the franchise to succeed. They want to see new stories, new characters, and new worlds that capture their imagination and expand the universe they love. But they're not going to settle for mediocrity, and they shouldn't have to. If Disney and Lucasfilm want to keep this franchise alive, they need to start listening to the fans, not just the sycophants who will praise anything with the Star Wars label slapped on it, but the real fans who care enough to demand better. So, yeah, The Acolyte was a failure, but not because of some toxic fanbase. It failed because it didn't deliver where it mattered most: storytelling, character development, and respect for the audience. And until Disney starts to understand that, we're going to keep seeing more of these high-profile flops. Maybe it's time they stop blaming the fans and start taking a long, hard look at their own decisions. But that's just my thoughts. What do you all think? Was Amandla's take on the cancellation fair, or is she just deflecting from the real issues? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered takes on everything Star Wars.